We all understand the type of climate that we're dealing with. We're dealing with multiple offer situations.
I'd love to know sort of what's your why? What makes you tick? Why are you so successful?
Have a dialogue with your lawyer. Have a dialogue with your agent.
Both sort of passionate about sort of what we do.
Again, vet your agent to make sure that they're experienced and they're local. I like that idea.
No excuse to miss it on Saturdays from 8 to 9.
That's right.
WBZ.
And now, the show that gives you the latest and most relevant housing market news. Real Estate Radio Boston with financial expert Rick Shearer and legal professional Ali Alavi.
Some of the things that we're seeing as far as trends are concerned are having the home inspector come along during the open house. Have you seen those types of things? Do you encourage that type of practice? What are some of the drawbacks?
So I see it as being a benefit in certain circumstances. If you're going into an area that's going to have a high bidding war, at least you get a quick set of eyes taking a look at it for anything major. That's the upside of it. Then you can kind of go in, and if your realtor advise you to waive any, inspection clauses or anything like that, then you're at least had somebody take a quick peek at it.
But is there a self-sense of security there? Because to me, someone looking at a property for 20, 30 minutes aren't going to uncover the thing if you're in and out of that house in 2 or 3 hours.
Correct. They would have to just be comfortable knowing the fact that it's just a very, very brief inspection, and it's just going to be the big ticket things. And even then, you may not be able to disclose things. If you go, when we're doing our probing and looking behind insulation and looking for things, that's when we find issues, or when we get a chance to crawl around up in an attic, which you may or may not have.
I like it and I don't like it, to be honest with you. So I'm sort of torn in between.
I'm one of those.
I can see both sides, but I'm just not a big fan of it, to be honest with you. I mean, and then there's this other trend with regards to inspections for informational purposes only, right? So you do add a contingency for the listeners that may not know what we're talking about. There are different contingencies you do build in your offer. One of those is that allows you to do an inspection, a formal inspection, but that particular contingency allows you to terminate the contract if it meets a certain dollar threshold. If you're doing for informational purposes only, it means I'm going to go there with my eyes wide open. I'm going to bring a trained professional with me, and I know what I'm getting into, essentially.
Correct. When we're doing those, it's still a full inspection, but it's like you said, it's more for educational aspects. They're learning about the house. They're learning what their issues are going to be, what they're going to have to fix, and kind of go from there.
And I've seen clients that take that report and go back to the agent and the seller and say, hey, we said it was for informational purposes only, but let's negotiate here. That's not off the table. I mean, it's certainly not encouraged, and you've already said you weren't going to do it, but I see it that it happens all the time.
If it's a big ticket item, the heating system's dead, the air conditioning unit's dead, this undisclosed or unknown termite or carpenter ant damage that could be substantial at the sill or beam, then that's definitely stuff you can go back after. Cracked tiles in the bathroom. It's a cracked tile in the bathroom.
Right.
So can't really go back after that on those things. But if it's a really big ticket item, it could take it from being able to be sold conventionally, like a heating system's dead, to then having to be a cash buyer or a rehab loan in order for somebody to purchase it.
Everything but the house? What is that all about? Tell us more about this particular company.
It was created about 9 years ago, and it started out as an estate and tag sale business, and came up with the great idea that this thing should be done online. And, we really have gone through this massive explosion of growth over the last 3-4 years. We're now in about 28, 29 cities, and our goal is to be in 50 cities by the end of next year.
Wow.
And it is, we went from last year having about 200,000 unique viewers. We have over 2 million unique viewers to our website every month. Wow. So it's been explosive growth.
That's incredible.
And you've got 420,000 registered bidders that actually go to your site and actually participate in what you're about to talk about.
Correct. These are bidders that have signed on our website. They put their credit card information in there. They are active buyers on our site.
Okay, so let's back up for a second. If let's say someone's grandmother passed away and they have a house full of things, a couple ways that you can, someone that's taking care of that estate can handle that. They can bring in a company. People can trunch through, your grandma's house and go through all her things, and or they can hire your company and do it a little differently. Talk a little bit about what that looks like.
What would happen in that case, you had talked about this a little bit earlier. One of the goals of our company, the difference between a traditional estate sale and what we do is we alleviate a lot of the stress for the owner. What happens is we'll go in, all you have to do is basically open up the cupboards, point at everything you want to have sold. We will take pictures, we'll catalog everything, we'll do copious photographs, a lot of research on all of those items. You don't have to move anything. You don't have to pack anything. You don't have to buy any boxes. We're going to post all of those items online for 7 days. Nobody's going to walk in your house, trudge through with muddy boots and
Right.
dollars flying and trying to make deals on the side with all the reps that are there for those 4 hours. You're going to be, a traditional estate sale. My mother used to do this. She was an antique dealer.
Right.
The owner would be in the kitchen just holding their head saying, oh my God, when's
Right.
it going to be over? When's it going to be over? This is so much easier. We post it for 7 days. Our 400,000 bidders bid. And at the end of 7 days, it's all paid for online, gets shipped to them. Done deal.
Mike Walsh was saying as to how he's seeing an increase in pre-home inspections. Is that a tool that you employ with your sellers? Do you advise it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? I'm sort of torn. I'm 50-50. I want to hear your opinion on it.
In general, I'm not a huge fan of the pre-home inspection.
That's what I thought.
I understand and I hear what he was talking about, and you're talking about getting a lot of that information, but then depending on what you find, you've got to disclose.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they're not willing to do the work that they find when they do the pre-inspection, then all of a sudden they know some big things that might be wrong with
So
the
it's
house.
a
and they
double-edged
have-
sword, in other words, in your opinion.
Yeah.
So if they're not willing to do the work, then don't bother getting the home inspection. Wait till the buyers do it, as opposed to someone's like, yeah, I'll fix it. I don't want any headaches. Maybe that's a good client for a pre-home inspection.
Yeah, I like a pre-home inspection in instances where sellers really are interested in learning about what could be the matter with their house, especially if they've been in it for 20 or 30 years and they think it looks fine. And I might walk around and say, oh, there's going to be some issues with your inspection. And they think, well, everything works fine. And I live here, so I think it's great. But buyers who are coming in and have to take ownership and are thinking of their own financial situation and their ability to take on work, they may or may not agree.
Now, you employ something really quite unique when it comes to your sellers before you list a particular property. I mean, I know your whole motto is, let me educate my clients, even if they're buyers or sellers. What are the unique things that you do for your sellers? Why don't you share that with our listeners?
Oh, I like to really give my sellers a good knowledge of what's going on in their competing properties. So I take them out often to see the houses that the buyers are going to be looking at the same time they're going to be looking at.
I mean, given the fact that there's so limited inventory, do you find yourself seeing sellers have unreasonable expectations as to how much their house is actually worth?
Yeah, I see that quite a bit, and so having the data and and being able to educate them with real numbers of what houses have sold for, what they had that were better than their house or worse than their house, and really being able to do the analysis for them really helps in setting the expectation. And one of the other things I tell the sellers all the time is really try not to get emotional.